This program is sponsored in part by the National Catholic Society of Foresters. Hello again, I'm Jim Grant, welcoming you to the 65th edition of Looking at Social Justice. It's a podcast, it's a YouTube program, and it's a TV show, all wrapped up in one. And we have two very excellent guests today to talk to us about the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Now, I must admit, we haven't had Sukaina Hussain as a guest, but you will recognize her in her loving husband that we have had several times, Reza Nakumanish from the Islamic Cultural Center of Fresno. But with Sukaina, there is an intern. Her name is Zena Chafi. Both of them are working for this Council on American-Islamic Relations in the Central California region. We're so glad to have you here, Sukaina. Also, Zena, thank you for being here. Now, as we begin, it might be good that we learn a little bit about 5 topics today. The first one is, what is CAIR, and how does it basically try to serve the community? How would you like to unpack that for us, to introduce us to your ministry?
Sure. Well, thank you, Jim. Thanks so much for having us here. We're glad to join you. So CAIR is CAIR, the Council on American-Islamic Relations. And as you said, we are here in the Central California office, but CAIR actually is a nationwide organization. And so we are present in DC, in mostly every city, and in the state of California. For CAIR California, we actually have 5 offices. So we have an office in San Francisco, LA, San Diego, Sacramento, and then now in Fresno for Central California. So we are very expansive and we're growing in the Central Valley, so we're very excited about that. Our office is located in Fresno, but we cover the region from Merced to Bakersfield as well. And so we're growing and we're excited to be in the Central Valley now. And part of our work really is focused on, we do a multitude of things. Right now at CAIR, we've done a lot over the past 25 years, but for CAIR Central California, our work is focused on, 1, protecting civil rights. So particularly from people from Muslim community or any marginalized community, if they have faced any kind of discrimination or hate crime, problems at work, problems at school, we have legal teams that are there to support them to take on those cases and really protect their civil rights. Another area of our work focuses on immigrant communities. So we have immigration services and we have lawyers that actually help folks with their immigration needs. And we've recently had an immigration workshop in Fresno as well to be able to bring that service to the community here in Fresno. We also are focused on a lot of work in advocating for policies that are rooted in social justice. So we know that, a lot of our communities are impacted by a whole host of issues when it comes to immigration, education issues, when it comes to police accountability. And so we're really trying to focus on policies that are going to be making sure that we're working to help our families and help our communities. And then also we do a lot of work with civic engagement. And so part of our work in building power in the Muslim community is making sure people are registered to vote, they understand what it means to be civically engaged. And also our work includes registering voters, and our youth are the ones that are actually doing that. And so you'll see that in some of our work, our youth are the ones that are out there registering voters, are actually talking to people about the importance of voting. And part of that is our work with youth to help empower them, to help build up their voice and build up their leadership.
Well, now that we know, obviously, some of the areas of your focus, the obvious follow-up is like, why is this so important, not only to the Muslim community, but to all of us, especially now?
Absolutely.
What is the urgency, or tell us why this is so important to you?
Yes, and I think you are phrasing it perfectly right. As we said, CAIR as an entity has been around for 25 years, but we're really seeing now more than ever the presence of CAIR and the importance and the impact of CAIR is so critical in the political environment that we're in right now, and the negative rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric around Muslim communities, around immigrant communities, around really anybody that's different from the norm in this country. Those communities are very targeted. They're very marginalized. They're being attacked by politics, policies, by laws, by really inhumane ways. And so the legal presence of CAIR is really important to help combat some of that. And also our work is really important to make sure that Muslim communities, especially when we're under attack, have a voice, are being able to speak up against that negative rhetoric, are being able to fight against these policies that are separating our families, that are dehumanizing us, that are really putting us as separate or labeling us as something different from everyone else. And so CAIR helps to build up that voice for communities, increase their power to be able to say that, no, we have a place here like everybody else, and our voice matters, and we need to be at decision-making tables, and we need to be holding elected officials accountable. And then part of it is we're also really glad that we're able to be a local trusted resource for these communities. And so a lot of times when, somebody might be approached by the FBI or have an interaction with law enforcement, they may not know who is a trusted resource they can go to, or who they can go to for help that really understands their religious context, the cultural context, may have the language capabilities that they need as well. So CAIR is able to bring that to the community that we're really excited about. And we're really making sure that we're increasing opportunities for young people to step up. There's a lot of anger, frustration, pain, and sadness that our communities are going through because of this hateful rhetoric that we're living in every day. And we want to make sure that we're creating opportunities for folks to get involved and to be able to work against it instead of just sit with those terrible feelings.
Well, I want to say I'm really sorry that you're no longer working as you had been as a community organizer with Faith in the Valley. So we miss you in that capacity. But I am so excited to know that you are directing the effort in the Central Valley of what the Council on American-Islamic Relations is doing for the Muslim community and for all of us, because it's very important that we as citizens become aware of the rights of everyone, because as they say, they come after different people, and then who's going to be left standing if we don't stand with those who right now are the most victimized in our society? So thank you both for what you're doing in the area of advocacy and the protection of human rights for all of us, The third topic we wanted to look of 5 would be policies that are priorities within our region with the council. So Zena, I think you're going to be the one that's going to walk us through, 4 bills. Can you tell us why there are priority bills, and the 4 that you are emphasizing? Let's unpack them for everybody.
Okay. So the first policy that I'm going to be talking about would be AB 392, which is the police use of force. So now more than ever, there has been an increase in people of color being victimized by police officers and even being killed for just unjustly. So we're putting this common sense into law and protecting them by making sure that officers do not use lethal force unless necessary.
Now let me pick up on that one, and then, because these bills really and truly are not about protecting Muslims.
Oh no, this is protecting everyone.
What's so important that people need to know, when there are advocacy groups like CAIR, believe it or not, they are advocating for all of us. This idea of police use of force, I think the California Catholic Conference would join you on this immediately. Is there any more that you want to tell us about that particular bill, what we can do about it, Zena? Like, in other words, it's a priority, so what do we do about it?
We really have to stand up with our communities and make sure that we show that it's not okay when stuff like this is happening. We have to use our voice, and we have to stand up for our fellow brothers and sisters that are being victimized like this. There was a movie that was just posted the other day on Netflix talking about this, where a black lady's son was put into juvie for something that he didn't do. And so we just have to be aware of these issues and stand by them. That's what we can do, and by supporting these bills, I think that would be the perfect step.
Tell us about the second of your 4 priority legislative issues.
Okay, so this is ACA 6, and we're restoring voting rights to those on parole. And it's really upsetting to hear that people on parole, they can work, they're citizens, and they can do everything that we can do, but that they cannot vote. That's really upsetting because they can't express their rights and they can't be a part of the change in our lives if they can't vote. This is something that, I'm very passionate about. That they have to have their full rights. They're paying taxes, they're working, so they have to have full rights as citizens should. So and I think this was actually passed. It didn't pass, actually. Unfortunately, it didn't pass, which is...
It's going to be next year.
Yeah, next year, hopefully it'll be passed where they can finally start voting again.
I just got back from Chicago. Tell us about Chicago, because that's like you were...
Hometown. Yes, I miss it dearly.
So, you must have, I guess, visited sometime at the Loyola University Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Took a course on restorative justice, and legislation like this, Zena, is exactly where we from across the country were being introduced to the legislation in different states that is very much holding back people who are now coming out to society again, but they're further chained by legislation that is inhibiting their further progress of recovery and rehabilitation. So I am joining you on ACA 6. We'll do better next round. This is something we can work on together.
Thank you for your support. We need it.
Definitely.
And can we add one more thing to that note, Bill? Jim, the reason that bill is so important too is because we have seen that our criminal justice system actually incarcerates Black and brown people of color, at much higher rates. So these folks, the 50,000 folks in the state of California that this impacts who are on parole, are largely people of color that have lost this right to vote. And so not only is this an issue around democracy and voting rights, it's also a racial justice issue as well.
So much of what's going on in society right now, and I really want to second what the community from CAIR is telling us. It impacts all of us because the idea of racial discrimination in this country, it is on every level, but in the criminal injustice system, it's more visible because it happens over and over from the very existence, from the moment of being born or maybe dying because you're not going to get the good care you should have gotten in a hospital because you're a Black or brown or an immigrant. Thank you for reminding us we share your issues because you share our issues.
Absolutely.
These are everybody's issues.
Everybody's
issues.
What's the third issue we're going to work on?
Okay, so we're talking about AB 331. It hits home because as a college student, I see a lot of times that there are students around me that they're very ignorant to other people's cultures, to their religions, to practices. So what we're trying to do is have high school students take an ethnic studies class in their history or language, in their history or English classes, so that they can be more culturally competent individuals, citizens, as they're furthering on into the work world and their education.
What is the legislation proposing, Zena? I'm very intrigued. Here I just see ethnic studies. So it's proposing a certain curriculum at high school level.
Right. They want to include it so that they can learn about more cultures and just be more aware of what people do, what they do, and why.
And you gave out a little tease there saying, as a college student, where were you at?
So I'm at Fresno State University. I'm a senior and I'm studying public health. So the issues that relate to policy, they're really dear to my heart.
Where is this legislation, AB 331? Where are we with it?
So it did pass. It did pass.
And the state right now is working on developing what the curriculum actually looks like, because as Zena said, it's going to include Latino studies, African American studies, Asian American studies, and so there is a separate committee that's actually working on developing that curriculum, making sure that it's also inclusive of the Muslim American experience in this country, and inclusive of the narratives that you don't really see in history books. And so when it comes to, for instance, the Israel and Palestine conflict, we want to make sure that the stories of the Palestinians are being told in addition to the other perspective as well. And so there are folks who are hard at work in making sure that this curriculum addresses, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, xenophobia, and really captures the histories of different communities in California.
It's great to see the first 3 of the 4. Who wouldn't want to be on the side of supporting? So count on the ones that are still in the balance that need to do a redo, and we need to put out more energy to get them passed. We will be with you. What about AB 32? What is it, and how are we doing on that one?
So AB 32, it's basically ending for-profit prisons and detention centers. So they're profiting from treating people like animals. My uncle was in a detention center, and he said that a dog was treated better than he was.
Which detention center?
You know what? I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, it was brutal for him, and he was there for months, and he had almost no hope of getting out. So when they're profiting from being treated like animals, this is just against what we stand for as Americans.
Where are we on AB 32?
It did pass as well.
So what you're saying is the last 2 here, success, but these are CAIR initiatives that you have worked on seriously. ACA 6, we have to go back and do it over again. Where were we with AB 392, use of force?
We did pass that one as well.
So we're 3 out of 4?
3 out of
3
4.
out of 4.
And
Not
and
bad.
just to be very fully transparent, definitely these are bills that CAIR 100% supports, that we have been prioritizing on our legislative agenda. But the success of these bills has been a huge coalition statewide effort with partners that are actually leading the efforts.
Right.
They have been the ones to help draft these bills, bring them to the floor, get elected officials. So we're just grateful to have the chance to be able to be partners on these efforts,
Right.
and join the other coalitions that have been a part of it.
And that's how the California Catholic Conference would feel. We are not able to turn the tide on lots of legislation, but we join with others and we pick and choose our battles. And I am going to say we will definitely want to work on ACA 6, which is left in the lurch.
Yes.
We have a topic called "What Programs Has CAIR Worked On Regarding Youth?" And these come with some tremendous moments, events, activities. And why don't we begin with your Muslim Youth Leadership Program? What's that? What does that entail, Zena?
So I'll share a little bit about the Muslim Youth Leadership Program, and Zena will share about some of our other ones.
Yes.
MYLP, as we say for short, is a program that brings Muslim high school students from across the state to the Capitol for a 4-day immersive retreat where they are in Sacramento and they are learning how to read legislative bills, how to make arguments to support them, how to be against them. They're learning about organizing. They're learning about our social justice systems and how racism operates within systems that we are functioning in, and how sometimes we're complicit in those systems. So our students get to hear about these things from experts. They get to have discussions with each other, and then we actually get a day where we spend an entire Saturday in the Capitol itself on the actual assembly floor, and our students get to be senator for a day. So you'll have, for instance, if Zena was in high school, Senator Zena or Senator Ahmed or Senator Jamal, and what they're doing is they are actually taking on the role of elected officials for a day, reading bills, debating them, voting on them, passing them, and they work with staffers that are actually working at the Capitol and kind of get some coaching and things like that to break these bills down. So it is just an incredible experience for these young people to be able to be at the Capitol, to be immersed in this environment, to learn about the legislative process, and they get to meet with about, I'm going to say, 5 staffers in the Capitol that are of Muslim, who identify as Muslim, of all different races and backgrounds, and get to have conversations with them and learn about how they got there and what it takes to be, one of these staffers. And so it's a great experience for young people.
What about Muslim Day at the Capitol, which is very similar to Catholic Advocacy Day? We do that. We go up in buses and things like that. Tell us what goes on with Muslim Day at the Capitol.
Sure. So all of CAIR's chapters in California, so that is about 600, 800 students go out to the Capitol, and they talk to elected officials in their office and go to town hall meetings with them to advocate, to learn how to advocate on why these bills are so important. It really opens up a new door for them, because I also went to the Capitol in my internship, and I had no idea how big of an effect it made until I talked to the elected officials and got their perspective on it. I didn't realize how important these policies were for our future. So I can only imagine with 600 to 800 students how big of an impact that would make.
Oh, for sure. We do the same thing, but we don't get 600 to go from across the state. We Catholic Youth Day, they go up. I'm impressed, and I'm sort of like embarrassed. What about anti-bullying workshops? Also, is another one of your agenda items at this point.
Oh, that was such an amazing experience. We went out to a rural mosque in Madeira, and Muslim bullying right now is at an all-time high. And it's kind of taboo because no one really knows how to talk about it. So we gave the students a safe place to talk about their experiences and really talk to them about the different kinds of bullying, because they might think face-to-face is bullying, but what if it's cyberbullying? Now social media is a really big issue. So we talked to them about what they can do to approach situations like this and where they can go. And it was really heartwarming to have them open up and talk about their experiences and help them get through that.
I got to admit, so impressed at not only that you do these things, but the numbers of people you have involved and the images we're seeing in our minds or on the camera. We're seeing people who are actually at a very important place, the Capitol, and to be impersonating a senator for a day, awesome. That would mean maybe they'll one day become that senator.
Absolutely.
I would vote for him or her. What about Know Your Rights at Fresno State? What do we do up at school?
Absolutely. So another kind of initiative we have with the youth, in addition to being a resource for where young people can come and speak, as Zena said, if they are experiencing bullying, come to talk to CAIR about it, report it, especially sometimes when the negativity can come from teachers. Students may not know who to turn to next. If it's not a youth, it's coming from a person of authority, CAIR is a great, safe location for them to come to. We have the resources. We go back and have conversations with the administration, make sure that corrective action is taken. And along those lines, we did a small workshop at Fresno State with the Muslim Students Association, which is an organization on Fresno State, which Zena is on the board of as well. And they are an incredible group with about 50 people or so that are involved at Fresno State. And we did a presentation with our civil rights lawyer from Sacramento, Dustin Johnson, and really talked about what students' rights are on campus. What are their rights when it comes to free speech? What are their rights when it comes to protesting? What are their rights when it comes to bringing speakers on campus, in holding an organization, in working and asking for exemptions when it's the month of Ramadan, for instance, and they're fasting and they want to request certain accommodations and things like that. And so again, being a safe place for young people to be able to connect with us, to have those resources, and really using our legal expertise to serve them so that they can have the best experience as possible.
I am so glad that we have CAIR able to tell us some of the things they're doing, knowing you do so much more. But what about one item that we share together is the census. So in the last 4.5 minutes, what is CAIR doing at this point? I think we've got some multilingual events you've pulled off.
Yes. So I was actually the host for that event, and we had it in 7 different languages, and we really talked about how the census affects our government benefits, our health care, our schools, neighborhoods, and parks. And we had a Syrian refugee youth talk about her experiences as a high schooler and how the census impacts the programs that she's getting at schools and how it funds her programs and why it's important to her. So it really brought a lot of perspectives on the table so that people can be more aware on why they should take part in the census.
And CAIR is really going to be, and will be increasing their outreach into the community, particularly the Muslim community, which is of all backgrounds, including Middle Eastern, South Asian, but we have Muslims who are Latino, we have Muslims who are African American and Black, we have Muslims who are Asian descent, all kinds of backgrounds and races, of course. And so our work is going to be to provide, like this multilingual census event, which we covered, we had simultaneous translation in 7 different languages. We had Punjabi, Hmong, English, Arabic, Spanish, Mixteco, and Zapoteco covered at the same time. And as Zena said, she was the host and did it all in Arabic. And so the presentation was done for the host in Arabic and the testimony. So it was just a great experience to see that coming together of cultures and knowing the language needs. CAIR is going to be providing not just materials, but really assisting folks in our community through having canvassers that are going to be at the doors, through doing phone banks, to bringing tablets and things to our Islamic centers, to the local mosques, so that people can fill out the census right there electronically. And we're going to have language competency, so folks who speak Arabic or Farsi or the different needs, so that people can talk about it with community members that they trust, who know their language, who understand some of the questions and fear they may also have, and we can address all of those issues for them.
The census is so important. It's one of those other issues that we share like so many others. And the idea of getting behind what is the county's effort, what is the state's effort, what is trying to tell the administration in Washington, we are not going to be undercounted, we are not going to stand for resistance to this, but in fact we're going to make the hard to count community, which is immigrant, which is the Black and brown community, which is the impoverished community, the ethnic minority community. We are going to work together. So count on the diocese also supporting every effort that you are doing to get out that commitment to overcome the fear that is there over the census. We've got to register people, get them to vote, and get them to put their name on a tablet or on a piece of paper, so we are counting our people.
Absolutely.
The last item is something coming up.
Yes.
You've got a big event December 8th. What can you tell us about this?
We are so excited. We are going to be having our big banquet for CAIR Central California on Sunday, December 8th. It's going to be at 5:30, and we're excited to have a guest speaker who's pretty well known for folks, Linda Sarsour. She's a very renowned activist and social justice civil rights leader who's worked on issues like Black Lives Matter. She's worked a lot on Palestinian issues. She's one of the founders of the Women's March back when it started a few years ago. She is a great example of what it means to show up as a Muslim in communities and work for change. And what we're really going to be doing is just celebrating our work this year, talking about the impact and the work we've done with our communities and sharing that with people, and then making commitments for as we go into 2020, how we're going to build power, get out the vote, engage the Muslim community, work with youth, keep doing all the things we're doing.
How would they how do we get our tickets for this?
Thank you. Our tickets are available on our website, and so our website is going to be, we have a short link for it. It's a bit.ly, so bit.ly/2019 CAIR CAIR banquet BANQUET. So it's bit.ly/2019 CAIRCCBANQUET, or you can visit us on Facebook. We are at CAIR CAIR Central California, CAIR Central California on Facebook. We have all of our events listed. You'll find links for our tickets. You'll see upcoming events. You'll get to see what we've done in the past, and we'd love for you to follow us on Facebook.
I can't thank Sukaina and Zena enough for being here today representing CAIR. Thank you, God bless, and best wishes for a great banquet in December.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
God
you for
bless.
having us.